growing up in the Bronx, I would talk like all the other kids on the street, and I would say words like mudder, my mother, and my father. Believe me, you may not believe it, but kids in New York in the 60s spoke like that.
Right.
My mother and my father, and like the East Side Comedy. You ever see the East Side Comedy? The Bowery Boys?
No.
All right, those are like old movies. We talk like that, you know. And I came home. My mother yelled at me one time. She said, I'm not your mother." And I said, "What are you?" She said, "I'm your mother. A mudder is a horse that runs through the mud." I went, "Okay." So I wasn't allowed to say mudder, call her my mother.
Yeah.
My mother and my father.
Well, my mother has a very thick New York accent that we make fun of her for.
She does, yeah.
There are things that you guys say that you don't even know you're saying. I was talking about this the other day.
Yeah.
Window, the word window.
Yeah, go ahead.
Plural.
Go ahead.
Is not windows.
I say windows.
No, you say.
Windows.
No, you say windows.
No, I don't.
You say open the windows.
Open a window.
I've heard you say windows. And tomato, plural, is not tomatoes.
Tomatoes.
No, you don't say tomatoes.
I don't say tomatoes.
No, you say tomatoes.
Tomatoes. Yeah, tomatoes.
You say get some tomatoes. you drop the O.
I guess so. Yeah.
It's just what you do.
I have a lot of New York accents.
And I don't notice it, but when I do, I'm like, oh, people must think that's so strange when they hear that.
Yeah.
They must think it's a novelty.
Yeah. Well, I used to have business people call me at home, and I would say to them, you know, how's my accent? Is it very, no, you don't have a very deep New York accent, you know. But they said, but your wife, we think that's hysterical. I said, really?
Oh, no.
Yeah. This one guy said she sounds like Rhoda Morgenstein or Rhoda Morgenstern, whatever it was. It's before your time. It was a character on on the Mary Tyler Moore show back in the 80s or 70s, back in the 70s. Very New York.
Yeah, sounds like a nasally New York Jewish woman, basically.
Oh, that's your mother. What do you want? That's your mother.
She's more Italian than she is Jewish.
She's 25% Jewish? 25, right?
Yeah, 25.
Ashkenazi
25.
Jewish, yeah.
But more Sicilian.
What is she? She's altogether. Oh, your sister come up with a new one on 23andMe.
Oh, yeah. What was that? Slovakian?
That's
not true.
And some other.
Here's the thing. Okay. Here's the deal with the DNA reports. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
They give you all the possibilities for your different ethnicities.
Yeah.
Okay. But the confidence level for the report, they set to like 50%.
Right.
So if there's a chance, like this total random chance that you have like some Egyptian blood, like 0.2% Egyptian, they'll throw it on there. But if you raise the confidence level to like 90%,
right,
all those weird ones go away.
The weird ones go away.
You're not like 2% Coptic and 1% Slovakian, like she has all of a sudden. That's not true.
But a lot of that isn't like directly DNA related, right? That has to do with what people report.
I don't know how they come up with it. I think they go by they must go by genealogy. They must go by people who have been recorded to have lived in places a long amount of time.
Right.
They take their DNA and then compare it to yours to find out if you match.
Right.
That's my guess.
Right.
I mean that would be how to do it.
Yeah.
So
well, it was shocking to find out that I wasn't German.
Yeah.
That I'm as it stands now, it's roughly 80% Irish. Actually, it says 100%.
It's basically all Irish, from what I can tell.
Irish, and is like a percentage of English and then Scottish in there. No Slovakian.
No,
whatever that is.
You're basically 100% Irish.
Yeah, basically 100%.
That's basically
Irish.
what it is.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that a Irish laugh?
That's very.
The Irish don't care if you make fun of them.
No, we don't.
They don't care.
We don't care. We make fun of ourselves.
In general, white ethnicities do not care if you make fun of them.
Not
you
really.
can make fun of. You can do a Scottish accent. You can do an Irish accent. You can do an Italian accent. You can do a French accent. These people don't care. They don't care.
They don't care.
German accent.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about the new Surgeon General.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I know there's a new one. I don't know anything about him.
So a nominee. Trump has nominated Casey Means as Surgeon General.
Okay. Did he get his uniform yet?
Casey Means is a woman.
Oh.
So it's not a man.
Oh, okay.
It's very confusing because it's a brother-sister duo, Casey and Callie Means. Okay. Their last name is a verb, and both of their first names could be boy or girl. So I get them confused all the time.
Right.
Okay. Casey is the woman and Callie is the man.
Okay, but only one of them is the Surgeon General.
Yes, I know. I'm just saying I get the names confused.
Okay.
So Casey Means has been selected to be Surgeon General.
Right.
Now, her whole thing is that she graduated top of her class at Stanford Medical School. She went on to do a residency program, a prestigious residency program, but she dropped out. This is her whole backstory. She dropped out a year before completing it in the 4th year because she didn't like the way the medical system was handling patients, and other people said it was too high stress for her. She didn't like it. So she dropped out and she decided to basically go the holistic medicine route. So she's a holistic doctor.
Wow.
Is what she is, who never completed her residency.
Oh, wow. I bet RFK had a lot to do with that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. So the backstory behind this is that she and her brother were a big part of the Maha movement with RFK.
Okay.
They apparently were also advising Trump on some health policy stuff.
Right.
And they're the connection between RFK and Trump.
I see.
Now, that story is a little tenuous to me just because I know RFK and Trump already know each other.
Right.
So they don't need a middleman to connect them. But at the same time, I don't know, it's a good media story and there is something I guess they were advising both of the candidates.
Well, that's really interesting because that's going to be someone who's really going to support a lot of what RFK stands for.
Yeah, basically,
what he brings to the table.
It's all preemptive measures to keep you healthy.
Keep you healthy,
not just treat you when you're sick with medication. That's what it is. Medication instead of focusing on medication and surgery, focus on eating right,
sure,
and staying healthy, working out, things like that.
Going to causes instead of symptoms.
Going to causes instead of symptoms, which is very important. And the Surgeon General role is basically you're basically the spokesperson for the government's health policy. That's your role as Surgeon General. You're the communicator. They call you the nation's doctor, right?
So the media can't like this. Well, they don't like anything that's going on.
Well, it's kind of interesting because there's actually a schism happening within Maha. Make America Healthy Again is the name, is Maha. What they've named the movement. Some people are for her and some people are all of a sudden very much against her. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of confusion as to why anybody would be against her. Nicole Shanahan, who's RFK's former running mate, remember her?
Yeah, sure.
She is totally against her.
Yeah.
And she's like speaking out about it and everything.
Well, that makes sense. She was not there all the way.
You don't think she was there all the way? I don't know what her role was exactly.
She had a lot of money.
But there's questions as to Casey's credentials and if she's really suitable to be in the role. They're like, people don't like that she dropped out of the residency program. They don't like that. Here's my one issue. I think she's probably really good on the health stuff. The physical health stuff, working out, eating right, things like that. I'm a little concerned about the mental health stuff, which goes to spiritual health. It always does. Mental health and spiritual health are tied in. You can't really separate them. And let's watch this clip of her talking about that because she's into some spiritual stuff too.
Now this one here is the new.
So she's the pick for Surgeon General.
Okay.
And here she is talking about spiritual
She's not going to
health.
look good dressed up like an admiral.
Yeah, I know, right? With the little hat. Why do they wear those uniforms? It's very weird because they're not actual.
No, they're not.
Well, okay, you say admiral, you mean general.
Oh, whatever. Yeah,
it's a general.
General, yeah.
She's not an actual. That role is not an actual general.
Yeah.
You're not a general, but it is modeled after naval uniforms, obviously.
It is, yeah.
Right?
She looks like she would look like the general, the modern general in
Modern Major General.
Modern Major General.
Yeah.
All right.
No, if I were her, I would not be looking forward to that uniform.
I know she's not going to wear that.
Okay.
I can tell by looking at her.
So I'm concerned about some of the spiritual stuff. Let's hear it.
All right, go ahead.
As we eat the healthy food, as we get the sleep, as we move our bodies, we are creating the form of the body, the structure of the body, that I think has an easier time connecting with source.
That
And
resonates, yeah.
if we are essentially
like, what's
channeling that
source?
source energy, and
Channeling?
duality is the root of the suffering. Duality is that we were part of the spirit world and we came into this body and we forgot. We forgot that we are part of that. We forgot that we are pure love. We forgot that we are a piece of God. If the forgetting.
Okay. So right there, I'm like, hold on. This is total New Age. This is total New Age.
It really is.
Piece of God,
Right.
connecting to the source, which is
The universe.
strange
usually.
language.
Yeah.
The source. And also the other thing, what did she say? Channeling. She mentioned channeling too, which now those words, channeling and the source, I mean, they don't necessarily mean anything bad,
Right.
but a lot of times they're used in a New Age non-dual way. She was talking about your body being different than your spirit and all this stuff. So she's definitely into some weird stuff.
A little concerning so far.
Yeah, it
I
is.
have to
It
be
is
honest with
concerning,
you.
and being a piece of God, right? That's
Right,
weird.
right.
Don't like that. So she's great on the physical stuff, but I don't like her. I don't want her advising the nation on spiritual health.
No, not at all.
That's not good. That's not good. So that's
Which,
one of
which, if she's going to go to psychological health or mental health,
mental health. Yeah, which obviously is very important to her.
right?
I mean, she's talking about it here.
right.
Then undeniably, she's probably going to be doing that. I mean, there's a good chance that she's going to be putting an emphasis on this kind of stuff, as maybe setting public policy. I don't
Yeah.
know, but it turns out that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't like her very much.
Wow. Okay.
And I actually suspect that's why Nicole Shanahan doesn't like her, because Nicole Shanahan, just like within the past year, got baptized.
I'm sorry. Who's Nicole Shanahan?
I just told you. Nicole Shanahan's her RFK's former running
Oh,
mate.
yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah.
She
Shanahan,
just within the past year
Yeah.
got baptized. She's
I
like
see.
born
So
again.
she's like a born again Christian
All of a sudden.
now. Oh yeah.
So if
she's
she has, if
against
she's
that.
heard any of this stuff,
Yeah.
she knows stay the hell away from that.
Yeah.
So she's not going to like her. She's not going to like her. So the health advice is good on a physical level, but not on a spiritual level. And it turns out that's why a lot of people don't like her. Laura Loomer, you've heard of Laura Loomer. She's all after this too. And she found this from one of her newsletters. This was in Casey Means. Casey Means runs, I don't know, she runs like a health company that advises people on metabolic health. That's one of her things.
Okay.
And she has a newsletter, and this is something from one of her newsletters on what she did to basically prepare herself for a family. She wanted a family, she wanted a husband, she wants kids, and she wanted to somehow align herself with the universe to make this all happen. So here's her advice. Here's what, I should say, here's what she did to make that all happen. Okay. She says, I set up a small meditation shrine in my house and prayed to photos of my ancestors, asking for support on my personal journey. Wrote mantras, manifestations on small pieces of paper and tucked them around the shrine.
Oh my God.
Okay. Went to weekly group meditations and spiritual lectures at Self-Realization Fellowship in order to tune in with spirit, capital S.
Yeah.
I worked with a spiritual medium who helped me connect with spirit guides for support and guidance. I did full moon ceremonies with grounded, powerful women where we called in abundance and let go of what wasn't serving us and amplified each other's dreams.
This is crap.
I hiked alone and talked literally out loud to the trees, letting them know I was ready for partnership and asking them if they could help. And then this one, how about this one? I did plant medicine experiences with trusted guides and wrote extensively about my experience and insights. And there's a little mushroom emoji at the end. So
Which means she tripped.
did shrooms.
She tripped.
Yeah, she did shrooms.
Yeah.
She did shrooms. So she did
No, wait,
all these
whoa,
things.
Which one is this? Who is this?
This is the candidate, the nominee for Surgeon General. This is
Okay.
Casey Means. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, she's a fruitcake. Sorry.
she found a husband. It worked. But the point is, I don't think this person should be advising the health on, excuse me, I don't think this person should be advising the nation on health.
Well, I hope she doesn't.
On health.
This is New Age junk. This goes back. I mean, this is all New Age stuff. This is all non-duality stuff.
It's all non-duality.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, New Age.
This is like pantheistic, one with the universe type stuff.
This is, I mean, the original what we call New Age, non-duality, that goes back to, this is like Garden of Eden 2.1, 2.0, whatever you want to call it.
What do you mean? What?
Well,
What are you talking about?
the original New Age prophet was the serpent talking to Eve.
You've totally lost me.
You shall be as gods, he said.
Okay.
To Adam and Eve in the
I think
garden.
you're making a connection. You've jumped ahead of me. I'm missing the intro to whatever you're talking about right now.
This goes all the way. This is nothing new. New Age is not new. They call it New Age, but it's not new.
Yeah. No, of course. Well, it's basically the West's introduction to Eastern medicine,
Right.
and Eastern religion,
Right.
And they call it New Age,
Right.
saying it's a new age in the West where we practice old Eastern
The thing
religion, which you're saying goes back to
goes
Garden of
goes
Eden.
back to Satan as the
You're
serpent,
saying it goes back to wanting to be God,
telling man that
Right.
that man can be God,
and you can't.
and that is the original false doctrine,
Mm-hmm.
and it's carried through the centuries into this.
Right.
Yeah, entire spiritual movements, religions have been created out of it.
Yeah. So the source, that language she was using, that's it's very oh, you know what? Actually, let's listen a little bit further because she does mention something else here.
Okay.
It's bigger than just these like the books and the hacks and the optimization and the micro things and how much zone 2 training to do every day and all these things. Like if we root this journey in a bigger picture of basically striving for this bliss, I think that it can really help motivate us. And then remembering that Taoist principle that we're a process, not an entity. This is why we.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'm against her.
So she's talking about Taoist principles.
Right.
Okay. Taoism,
sure.
whichever way you want to say it.
Tao, yeah.
That's ancient Chinese philosophy.
Correct.
Right? Which is
Chinese
essentially
medicine.
Medicine, religion, philosophy. It basically, it goes with Buddhism. It goes hand in hand with Buddhism.
Right.
And basically it's this yin yang. That's where yin yang comes from. To put it in like modern terms, go with the flow. It's like there's a flow of energy and we all are just little manifestation, little blips in it, and we all, our life journey should be to align ourselves with that flow and just kind of fall back into it.
Right.
And it is totally non-dualistic.
Right.
There's no God involved.
Yeah. There's no God in any of this stuff.
Now, there is some truth.
There is God as long as we're God.
Huh?
There is God because we become God.
Oh, you mean
By the
we try
philosophy.
and make ourselves God.
Yeah.
Yeah, by default. Right. So what I'm saying is there is some truth to it, which is very appealing to people. And it's this sort of, you can't force something. You are not, you have to go with the flow. That's where that term basically comes from. Because you have to accept reality for the way it is. So that's very appealing to people who have tried being very willful, have failed at it, have experienced, crushing defeats and things haven't gone their way. And they go to Taoism
Sure.
or one of these Chinese religions or philosophies in order to feel, it helps it because there is some truth to it. That's why
There's
they
some
do
truth to it because people they get this feeling when things are going wrong,
Yeah.
they feel powerless,
it. Right.
which is the truth. They are powerless.
Right.
But something comes along and tells them, it's ego, it's a false self that comes through and tells them, no, you can take control of this. You can fix this.
Right.
Roll up your sleeves and do something and you can take care of this. You can fix yourself. You can fix the world.
Okay.
It's not true.
Well, Taoism would be the opposite of that.
It is?
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, it's the whole thing about letting go and
Oh, I see.
and going with the flow.
Yeah.
The way. That's what the Tao is. It's the way. That's
Yeah.
what it means.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to just align yourself and sort of mellow out and go with this thing. And there's no God involved is the thing. It's a completely godless philosophy.
Well, what I'm saying is it's acknowledging that there is a power and you become powerful by assimilating into the power.
That's the thing. And it's part of, okay, yeah. So now you're getting somewhere with it. There is this sort of false humility that exists that I've seen in people who do jujitsu, I've mentioned before,
Right.
where it's like they have become so good at the
Yeah,
craft that like, oh, like I am unaffected by your aggression completely because I could destroy you with my pinky finger.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they could destroy you with your pinky finger, with their pinky finger. Like they are that good. But you can tell that along with that skill, comes this totally fake humility. They're actually full of themselves.
Yeah.
Not all of them, but enough of them where it's like, I could see right through this. They're not humble.
No.
They're not humble. So, so I do see some weird stuff with that, and I don't think the country is ready for an Eastern medicine surgeon general.
It's very concerning.
She's good with the with the actual like metabolic health stuff and the preventative care. She's great with that.
Right.
She's great. But she wrote a book called Good Energy, and I don't like the spiritual angle at all. And if she was put in a position where I knew that her spiritual perspective was not going to taint her work and her policy suggestions or how she communicates with the country, because she's going to be the spokesperson basically for health, that'd be great. But I don't think that that's separable for the Surgeon General role.
That's the problem. As soon as you hear the term holistic,
yeah,
that's a tip off right there, because the term holistic on the surface, you go, well, that's pretty good.
Right.
Because, everything, the body and the mind, but what they're really talking about is the holistic, like the universe and as you say, the power, and we're all one. And that's really horrible
it's New
stuff.
Age. It always goes New Age
stuff.
It always goes New Age.
One of the thing that would concern me with her, I don't know what sort of powers they have, but if she's going to start bringing that stuff like into the schools,
right?
Like where little kids are having meditation sessions and doing all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
That's what I would foresee.
Yeah, and that's why, like, if she were nominated for another role, I don't know, in a totally different world, if she was like Department of Homeland Security
or transportation,
like,
or something.
Fine, she's got some wacky stuff going on.
Who cares?
The problem is that it's a health role, and it's not just health policy. It's like you are the communicator for the nation. You are communicating the health goals of the nation, to the nation, and so I don't know that. I
don't want to see that crap getting into kids' minds.
Well, it already is a little bit. I mean, I remember when I was in high school. I was still in public high school at this point. It might have been 8th grade, but we had, for health class, the health teacher brought in a meditation specialist for one of our classes, and led us through a 5-minute meditation exercise. Had a little bell and did like one of those things. And so everybody closed their eyes. It's like, do you feel more relaxed now? And of course, I already do non-contemplative meditation, and which is not non-dual, not non-dualistic, and this was like a contemplative style. So I just basically didn't do it, is the truth. But it was being introduced then. It's probably more there now than it was before, honestly. I mean, that was at this point, that was over 10 years ago.
I did that sort of thing once in my life. I was in high school. I went to an old boys high school. St. Raymond's was Catholic school. And we had this brother Dominic, great guy, liked him a lot. And we had theology. And he was teaching us, we had to learn all the different religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, and all that stuff. And one of the things he told us about was yoga. And everybody was like, well, what about, yoga meditation? He said, well, let's try it.
And this is in the 70s?
This would have been early 70s, yeah.
Right. So this is like just the beginning of New Age.
Yeah, but New Age, yeah. People were getting into transcendental meditation, yoga meditation, all that stuff. Kind of the beginning of it.
The Beatles, of course, were
big on it.
They were a big part of introducing it to the United States.
This would have been probably, 73, 74, something like that. And he had the whole class sit there, close your eyes, and just close your eyes. Now envision that you're in a big meadow, and he had this whole visualization thing going. And there's green grass and blue skies, and I was sitting there, and I could see that, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Oh my God!" It seems I went like that. I rejected. I went like that.
You jolted awake.
Jolted out of it.
Yeah.
I was actually being brought into. It looked like the Microsoft screen, with the meadows and the clouds.
Windows XP. Yeah.
Windows XP. Yeah.
Sure.
That's what it looked like in my head. And there was no such thing.
Not yet, yeah.
Not yet. And I just opened up my eyes like that. And he looked at me. I was sitting up near front. And he looked at me and he gave me a knowing glow. He went, you see, he just like looked at me and smiled like, you see how that is? And then he just like opened up everybody's eyes and like, how did you feel? Oh, I felt so relaxed. And then he went on to tell us why that's not a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but that was my only experience, and I realized, boy, you could get sucked right into it. And just, it's
So
not,
he saw you repel.
he saw me
from it.
repel out of. He saw me like just reject the imagination, and not that we shouldn't imagine anything. I'm not talking about. This wasn't creativity. This was a spiritual exercise.
I get it.
Yeah, and he just saw me go like that, and he just looked at me with a knowing eye, like you got it. You see?
Yeah,
that?
yeah. You
saw
felt yourself getting lost in it, and then came out of it.
Came out of it.
Didn't
yeah.
like the
separation
from reality.
I didn't like it. I wanted to be in reality.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of funny.
People become so disillusioned with current mental health advice, spiritual health advice, and for good reason, because they have stress and they're under a lot of stress, and they get this anxiety and they get angry and they get fearful, and they're like, this can't be right. This can't be how I'm supposed to live. And you see, Western theology, you see people praying and they're going to church and they're doing things, and then you see how they come out and they're angry too a lot of the time, and you say, well, that doesn't help. So then you hear about this philosophy, you hear about an Eastern philosophy where it's like this, yin yang, go with the flow, release all this stuff, and it appeals to you because there is some truth there that life doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be this angry, upset, fearful person. The problem is that it removes God from the equation completely, and there's no longer a difference between you and God. You're no longer the one. You're no longer the one who is asking for help. You're helping yourself,
right?
And that doesn't work.
Right.
That we're not designed to do that. So,
well, that's what I was saying before about people feel powerless. They feel like they're plugging into a power.
yeah,
But it's not God power.
yeah,
It's their own power to become God. And it feels good. It feels good. It stimulates gets those neurotransmitters going, and they get high on it.
yeah.
And that's why meditations like that, yoga, all that sort of stuff becomes addictive, because you actually are a pharmacist writing your own prescription in your head for the same drugs that any other, like an antidepressant, would also accomplish.
That's why Western Christian theology is one up on these Eastern philosophies, because at least it does include God, and it does include some core concepts which are true, aside from all the ritual stuff and they distract themselves and they're hooting and hollering and stuff like that. Different churches, I'm talking about different denominations at this point.
Right.
There still are some major tenets, which is that you are not God, you are a subject of God, and you must forgive.
Yeah.
You must forgive. The forgiveness is critical. I mean, that's what keeps you regulated, basically. It's like I have to forgive people, and thy will be done, not mine.
When you
that's very
forgive,
important.
you stop judging. You forgive.
Yep.
And because to not forgive means you're condemning them, you're sending people to hell or sending people to heaven, and you're playing God.
Yeah, and the problem with a modern conception of forgiveness too is that people think that forgiveness means some sort of reconciliation.
Yeah.
Like we're going to be friends again.
Yeah.
And the Bible says, Jesus says, love your enemies, right? And I'm using that quote because it makes a good point. You still have enemies. It doesn't say love your friends.
No.
It says love your enemies.
Sure.
People who are against you. Enemies are people you fight. So you can love them and still fight them. It doesn't mean you have to reach out a hand and make up.
No, it means don't hate your enemies.
Right. It means don't hate them.
Right.
And then when you don't hate them, you can actually fight them successfully.
Right. Because well, then you have then you have the most power you could ever possibly get, which is God's power.
Right, but it's not. You're not wielding God's power. It doesn't work.
It's just sort of flowing through you. It doesn't feel like it.
Even the way you're saying that, it's not going to make sense to people.
It'll make sense.
All right,
it'll make sense.
Yeah,
it's God's power. You project God's power, His love through you when you're receptive to it. It doesn't feel like anything. Yeah,
but you can only be an instrument of His will.
Correct.
You are not yourself wielding some power and deciding, who to zap with.
No, but there are people that do that.
There are people who try to.
There are Christians that do that too.
Yeah, yeah.
For Christian churches do that.
Right.
They have the power to heal, and they do all that stuff.
Yep, the healers.
Yep. The other, what's that other New Age thing? The Reiki masters.
Yeah, Reiki,
whatever it is. Reiki,
chakras,
freaky deaky,
whatever they do.
Whatever it is.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that chakras would be.
Is that different?
Yeah. Well, you know, if you're into that, you're into all of it.
Yeah.
All of it is appealing to you.
Right.
You know,
Because all of it implies
they're channeling power of the universe, you know, like through their hands, and they heal. And they have
all of it
stuff.
implies a sense of hidden power
Yeah.
that you can access.
Right.
If you just buy my course.
Right. That's
Basically, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, that gives rise to what I wanted to bring up too. I wanted to bring up about you know, even Christian sects and Christian religions, a lot of them, they get into that a lot too. They get these. You ever see these prophets of doom?
Prophets of doom. No.
Prophets of doom. I'm calling prophets of doom.
You mean like the end of the world people?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
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 The end of the world people.
There's one coming up. I'm waiting for him. He's 2028. So I'm waiting to see what happens with him.
Who's that?
I don't even remember the guy's name. I just remember he predicted the end of the world in 2028.
I brought a clip
and we're
of
getting
him.
closer and closer.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I brought a
Great.
clip
I
of
want
him.
an update.
Well, what happened was I wanted to.
Has he like pushed it forward a bit? Is he like,
Maybe.
I don't know anymore, guys.
Yeah.
The stars aren't
I don't know why
aligning
you,
the
I
same
don't know why
way.
you centered on that, because I didn't know anything about this guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to look up. You know, I wanted to bring that up, okay, because
Yeah.
you have a lot of these preachers. I think he's a preacher. I'm not sure, but he's a prophet. It's a self-described prophet.
Okay.
And I was looking, and you know, and I'm looking at them. I was going to bring examples, and they're all so crazy. I didn't want to give them time. They're all just like, you know, and they've all been given this special gift, and only they have it, and they know when the end is going to come. The end times are coming. But, you know, that stuff has been around for forever. I mean, you know, you always had, you know, even I remember being a kid and you see, you know, hippies in Times Square carrying signs, you know, the end is coming, you know, repent. And then you have repent now. You know, follow God, praise Jesus, and the world is coming, and Jesus is coming on a horse. And they have all of these interpretations of Revelations, you know, the book of Revelations. And and they customize it to meet their own narrative. You know, let's look at that guy.
Okay.
Let's look at
Which
that
I
guy
totally don't get how they're Christian doing this, because Christ said nobody knows.
He said nobody knows. Yeah, well,
you talked about it being around a long time. I mean, it's been around so long. Christ had to acknowledge and say, like, yeah, all these people, they don't know what they're talking about.
well, I'll tell you, I wrote.
But he said nobody knows.
Well,
So why are Christians saying they know? I don't get it.
I'll give you the exact quote.
Okay.
This is from Matthew.
Okay.
But about the day and the hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven.
Right.
No, nor the Son.
Which is him.
Jesus doesn't know.
Yeah, right.
Jesus does. Now, if Jesus does, wait a minute. If Jesus is God, well, that's another topic, isn't it?
Yeah,
if Jesus
yeah,
is
that's
God,
Trinity.
then how could he not know?
Yeah.
But only the Father.
Only the Father
Only
knows.
the Father knows.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's this guy. I brought him up because he says they don't know the hour, and they don't know. Was it the hour? No one knows
Day.
the day or the hour.
Yeah.
So he says, well, I got the year down. Right?
That's so crazy.
It's so crazy because I looked up these words.
Man, these people think they're so clever.
In order to write a blog. It hasn't come out yet. I haven't finished it yet. But let me see if I get the exact word here. I got the exact word here. There's two words in that translation. I think it comes from that's from the Greek, hemera or hemera.
Okay.
It doesn't just mean a 24-hour cycle. 24-hour, like on a clock.
Like a time.
A time.
Yeah.
It just means generally the appointed time, the appointed season. That's
a time.
Just like there's going to be
like it's time.
An era.
Yes.
And then hora, which we think of as hour.
Yeah.
Right. Hora isn't also a clock reference. It's not a 60-minute reference.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It just means there'll be a fixed moment. In general,
I get it. Sure.
It's a figure of speech,
right?
It doesn't mean it doesn't mean there's no exact day, but feel free to guess the month
this
and the
guy's
year.
using the Gregorian calendar.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't invented.
Wasn't even invented yet.
Yeah, right.
It's unbelievable. Show this guy because the reason I picked him was not because of this thing that he's predicting for 2028, but because he has a whole system down. Go ahead, show it.
It's sad how deceived an entire church generation can be. For a decade now, ever since God gave me this 2028 end prophetic message back in 2008, mostly what I hear is, no man knows the day or hour, no man knows the day or hour, no man knows the day or hour. It's like parrots. and then they close their hearts and they won't listen to a single word I say.
It's like a skater boy.
Their ears to hear have been sealed shut by Satan, who has deceived them over this one phrase. It's heartbreaking. But friend, listen to me. Jesus wants you to know the time of his return. He literally said, know that it is near, even right at the doors. It was a direct command to us. Know when my return is right at the door. Well, it'll be right at the door, Feast of Trumpets 2028. 2,000 years
Stop it
after
right
the
there.
Holy moly.
Stop it right there. I don't want him to go on and on. I wanted to get to this graphic here.
Okay.
I mean, he's got the entire history of mankind, I guess, and he's got it down every year, every era, all the way down. 1,000 years, 1,000 years, 1,000. He's got a whole systemized thing here. I don't know if he's got followers and stuff like that, but I know a lot of people fall for this kind of stuff. Not just him, but others too. They use revelations. They take snippets out of Revelations, right?
Yeah.
And like the whore of Babylon is the Catholic Church, or the Antichrist is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And they've got all these.
Or how about like trumpets are air raid sirens?
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know if the air raid sirens are the trumpets, but here's the thing. Revelations, nobody knows what Revelations means.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. These people come along and they pretend to know, and they redirect the narrative to mean whatever it is that they want it to mean. And they're making it up.
So let's talk about statistic. Let's talk about probability for a second.
Okay.
Just like in a deck of cards, right? If you were to pick out a card at random, and you make a guess of what card it is, there's a 1 out of 52 chance you're right.
All right.
It doesn't mean you knew it.
Yeah.
But there's 1 out of 52. What if he just happened to be right?
Okay.
What if he gets it right? He's gonna think he's gonna think he's a prophet.
Well, it's not going to matter
But if
because
just
it's going to be
happened
the end of the world.
I know, but what if it just happened to happen in 2028?
I don't know. But all these guys, they all have the same thing. Buy my book, buy my course, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Click subscribe.
So what does he
like.
sell? What does he sell?
I don't have no idea.
How many subscribe? Wow, he's got
I have no idea.
200,000 subscribers for this.
Yeah.
Right.
But the thing is, it's not only the religious people. It's not only the Book of Revelations.
Yeah.
We have all these people that are predicting, and I've seen them my whole life, predicting financial collapse. They're against Neuralink because Neuralink and crypto is going to be, the mark of the beast, and you're not going to be able to buy and sell.
Right.
They take all of this stuff out of the Bible, especially Revelations. There are others, other parts too.
Yep.
And they try to make it work, and they're fear mongers.
Yes.
They're marketing fear.
One of those, yeah, and it's political too. There's a divide in politics now between the tech right and the ultra religious right. You could say that. That's not an exact definition, but you got people like Steve Bannon who are basically like, they hate Elon, they hate AI, they want it slowed down and stopped.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want any of this stuff. And then you got people like Elon who are essentially like, what are you talking about? We have to be the best at this.
Sure.
We can't just shun it.
Sure.
And so you have a lot of fear mongering for people like Steve Bannon. That's why I listened to him for a while. He was really good during the pandemic, partly because he had on all the people and was saying all the things that you weren't allowed to say at the time. So it's just through supply and demand, it's like he's the only show doing it. I'm going to listen to him. Everybody's going to be listening to him. But now we've kind of moved past that and we're on to other things. And now he's talking about, AI being evil and all this stuff.
So it sounds like he's
doing
getting into that too.
He's doing a lot of fear mongering,
yeah,
a lot of angry rants.
Right.
And I'm not into that.
I think
stuff.
he's gotten angry because
I
I don't think he's a favored boy with the Trump administration.
He's
like
definitely not, and he likes to pretend to be.
Yeah.
I can tell he's not. I don't have to have some insider information. I mean, the fact is he's not working for him.
Right.
He went from CEO of the Trump campaign in 2016 to essentially completely sidelined. He's not even working with Trump right now. And he seems like the type of person, I've said this before, to think he is smart enough to control what Trump is doing.
Yeah.
And use Trump as the tool for his own agenda. And Trump is smart enough to know when somebody thinks that they can do that.
Right.
And just tuck him away.
He'll tuck him away. Yeah. But people get drawn into this kind of stuff because it's the same reason they get drawn into the holistic stuff too, and the New Age stuff. They feel powerless, and they feel like they know something, and they've hooked onto something. Some guy has some information that nobody else has.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And only they have now, and they're going to be saved, and everybody who doesn't listen to them, they're going to be left out in the cold.
Yep.
And it makes them feel special.
Yes.
And that's what happens. Look.
That, by the way, that's a key part of Gnosticism, which was a alternative Christian movement. It's one of the earliest like weird Christian things that went in this weird sort of almost pantheist direction.
Right.
And one of their Gnostic comes from gnosis, means to know.
To know, yeah.
And it's a hidden knowledge. So it's something that you can know that nobody else can know.
Right.
And therefore, only some people have been granted access to this knowledge.
And the problem is when you get drawn into that sort of thing, you're living in a fantasy. Mm-hmm. You're living in thoughts. You're living in fear. And you're not existing now.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If anything, look, I have a prescience also. I can see ahead a little bit.
Prescience. Okay, yeah.
But I don't get pulled into it. I don't get drawn into it. If I were to say, it's not going to, the end of the world is not coming in 2028. And I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Because I can see ahead. I'm doing the same thing he's doing, except I'm going in the opposite direction.
Yeah, right.
I'm claiming clairvoyance of some kind, that God has given me information.
Right.
But I don't do that. I don't have to do that. But I can still see, that there aren't going to be any burned out cities.
Mm-hmm.
The economy is not going to collapse. I can see, okay, I don't see that that's not going to happen, but I don't see it happening. And I don't get drawn into either of it.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
It sounds like you just claimed a level of clairvoyance from your lack of information.
Sort of. I don't see any of that.
It just sounds like you're so full of yourself that the fact that nothing's been revealed to you means it's not happening. So you better straighten this out right now.
No, what I'm saying is I'm not going to make a prediction. These people fancy themselves as prophets. Okay? They're going to tell the future. And that's how they get their followers, who fall into the fear trap. And then they know something that nobody else knows, and they feel special, just like I said. Okay? I'm not going to fall into the trap saying, no, I know something different, but I can see ahead far enough to know I don't see any of this happening.
Let me try and say it a little bit differently, because I think I understand what you're trying to say. Okay. The intuition that God provides you when you are conscious and when you're aligned with his will helps you live. Right? We talk about intuition, the importance of intuition. And we don't talk about it in terms of some sort of clairvoyance or prophetic power of any kind.
Correct.
But it guides you and helps you make the right decisions.
In the moment, as you go along.
And you have not been steered by your intuition in any particular direction that would indicate something like, hey, we got to leave the United States. It's going to be a nuclear holocaust.
Correct.
We got to head to New Zealand or something like that.
So if you do have a feeling for something that something needs to be done, you just do it. You don't just talk about it. So if you're spending all of your time the contrails are dropping,
you're not going to know the year. You're not going to be like, it's 7 years from now it's going to happen.
That's all invented.
And this guy's been saying this for a while now.
Yeah.
But this is the guy. This is the one I was talking about. I had seen him
the same
before.
guy? Okay.
Yeah.
But if
I saw him like 3 years ago or something.
If you're worried that the world is going to end and all that stuff, and if you really feel like something, hey, you know what? The future, I don't know what the future is and it might not be so good. I think we should build rockets and go to Mars just in case.
Yeah.
And then you actually start doing it.
Right.
Well, you're not caught up in it. You're actually doing something.
Yeah, but if you did that and then you get everybody to Mars, and then something happens on Earth,
right?
You'd be like, he was right.
He knew.
He knew.
And if nothing happens, you have these wonderful Section 8 housing on another planet somewhere.
Oh, great.
Right. The main point is when you're caught up in thought, when you're caught up in worry, when you're caught up in these teachings, these predictions from these people, you're not living now, you're not living in the moment. And if something were to happen, you're not going to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
And by the way, if you're worried about the end of the world, you're not living in the moment either.
No, you're not. You're not. And if you're not living in the moment, then your world is going to fall apart. It's like living in hell.
Yeah.
Your relationships are going to fall apart. Your finances are going to fall apart. Your career is going to fall apart. everything's going to fall. Your health, your mental health, your physical health. You're not going to be able to take care of any of that in the moment.
Yeah.
Because you're so busy worrying about other things. You're lost in thought.
Right.
You're lost in imagination.
Did you want to do the plane thing real quick, and then maybe we end?
Yeah, I said I was going to talk about. I'll just bring her up for a second because I wanted to make a point about her. About the. You remember the crazy plane lady?
Crazy plane lady.
Yeah, I
you
forgot
mean the
her
meme,
name.
the viral video.
Yeah, the viral bit from a couple of years ago.
That man is not real.
That man is not real.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to talk about her. I know she turned. I went to look and see what she's up to lately.
Yeah.
And she's like on Instagram posing in bikinis and all kinds of stuff. And it's like, okay, she's off the chart.
She's like an influencer.
She's an influencer. Yeah, she leveraged that, which
Right.
I don't blame her for doing that. I mean, that's fine. I don't agree with the way she did it.
No, I mean, I watched her go on a few shows. I think I saw one of her first media appearances because it happened to be a show on The Blaze that I watch occasionally.
But I didn't see anything new worth. There's no like real updates on her
No.
progress or anything like that. But what I did was I looked up and I looked at that meme again, and I haven't seen it in years.
Yeah.
And I saw something that I didn't notice before. She says that effer, right?
Yeah.
Is not real.
Yeah.
Isn't that what she said? But then she said something else too that nobody really talks about.
What?
Because later on she recanted and she was just having a bad day and
Oh yeah, she doesn't like to talk about it. She's
doesn't
very
like-
embarrassed.
She
by
doesn't
the
like
whole
to
thing.
talk about it,
Sure.
right? Well, she's not that embarrassed. Okay. There was something else in that she said that you really don't hear anybody talk. First of all, where's the guy? Where's the guy that's not real?
I don't know.
There is no guy. There's no guy.
Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, there's a guy. She said there's a guy. She said there was an altercation over AirPods or something that she was having with somebody,
Okay.
and it upset her. Okay. Well, where's that guy? Where's the AirPod guy? He never showed up. He was never questioned by anybody.
All right.
But the one thing she said, maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but she said, you can all believe me or not believe me. You can stay on this plane and you'll all die,
Yeah.
but I'm getting off.
Right.
She implied that they were going to die if they stayed on the plane because of this guy that's not real.
Yeah. Right.
Right. And look, I don't know if she was hallucinating. Maybe she got a little Ambien the night before or something. Who the heck knows?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, there are people who become. You remember that video I made a number of years ago? Smokers are not real people.
Yeah.
And the premise of that is that when you take a drug like when you're smoking or drinking or drug, it can go with anything. Your life takes a different path than had you stayed on the original rail you were on,
Sure.
right? So, say for example, say for yourself, right? You went through high school, you went through college, right? You never drank.
Right.
You never drank alcohol. You never got drunk.
I did not.
You don't even know what alcohol tastes like.
I don't think I do.
You might. Maybe. Did you ever have alcohol tainted rum cake or something like that?
No, I mean I've had it in food, so like cooked out. So I get the flavor
You
of
get
alcohol.
a flavor of alcohol.
But I've never actually
had a drink.
drank alcohol
Yeah.
before.
Okay. So if you had drank in high school and college,
Yeah.
your life would not be what it is right now.
Okay.
Okay, because it would have changed. It would have changed the path that you were on because you would have reacted to people differently. You would have said different things. You would have made different choices, whether it be school or what to study in school or
Right.
jobs or whatever it is.
Sure.
It would have been totally different. So it took you took an alcohol-free tact, and that's where you're at right now.
Okay.
Okay, so if you had kept drinking, it'd be different. If you're sedating with smoking, with nicotine, with any kind of drug, you start making different decisions. Your life is totally different. If you stop,
Mm-hmm.
you can start living in reality, but it's not the same reality that you would have had you not done it at all.
Okay.
So people, that's what I said in the video, was that people who are smoking, I don't mean people who quit smoking, because I'm a smoker. My life is different than had I never smoked.
Yeah.
My life is real right now because I don't, and I don't do other things either.
Right.
So I'm not saying that if you drank, your life would be ruined. Your life would just be different. So people who continue to smoke continue to live in a non-reality. It's never real for them.
Okay.
They're always making the wrong choices. They're always making the wrong decisions. They're always picking the wrong people, the wrong relationships, the wrong jobs. But they're right in that moment. But then when they smoke, it becomes wrong again, and they just continue on that path.
Okay.
Okay. And that's all I mean. That's all I meant at that time. Well, that's what happens when you can run into people that they're not real people because they're pursuing those things that makes their life unreal.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and
The point is that you can actually see and meet people who are not real. Maybe she saw someone, maybe she had a moment of clarity and ran into someone who was not real, and it scared her.
You think that was a moment of clarity for her?
It could have been a moment of clarity.
I think this is a total stretch. I think this is a stretch to make a point about people being
I don't know. I've heard somebody.
That's crazy.
I heard somebody say that. Like,
That's
oh yeah,
crazy.
she was sitting on the plane next to a shapeshifter.
Yeah, well, that's what's. Yeah, that was the thing at the time. I remember once we were together. We were flying to Florida. I was a kid. I was probably. I could have been much older than 12 or so. It must have been like a vacation or something.
Right.
And probably visiting grandparents. And we're sitting on the runway and the engines start up and you know how like all of a sudden
Sure.
it's like when you're getting ready to go.
Right.
And we're getting in position, the plane's kind of wheeling along the runway. And I had this thought that the plane was going to crash. And it wasn't like a real, it wasn't some sort of intuitive moment for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just this idea that the plane was going to crash and that somehow I just knew it. It was a bad feeling, but it was based in a thought. And I told you about it and I started to like freak out a little bit about it. I started to.
Was that your first time on a plane?
It was not my first time on a plane,
Yeah.
but I hadn't been on a plane that much. And probably like third or fourth maybe at that point. But I told you about it. I'm like, I don't feel good about the plane. I just don't feel good about it. I think we have to get out. I'm afraid we're going to crash. And you stopped me and you said, you're like, it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. You don't get these fearful panic ideas that end up being right. Those are fake. Those are lies.
Right.
And I was like, okay. And I trusted you in the moment and we took off and we landed. It was totally fine. So you can be overcome with something can tell you something that is totally untrue.
Yeah.
That grips you and changes how you behave and how you move and how you act because it just takes over you.
Yeah. If a weaker person might have insisted they get off the plane or something.
Right.
Yeah.
She might have been a weaker person. She might have gotten a crazy idea.
She probably did.
Because maybe she was on something. I don't know. And then she carries through with it and she ends up causing a spectacle and gets off the plane.
It could well be that also.
And then realizes that was nuts. That was crazy. Why would I think that?
The truth is that's probably the most likely thing that happened
Correct.
to her that time.
That's what I think.
Yeah. I don't think she saw a shapeshifter.
Probably not.
But it brought me to the topic of seeing people that aren't real people, they're not living real lives. In a moment of clarity, you can get to see that person. You say, and you don't trust them.
Yeah.
Well,
I have been, I've never done drugs or drank alcohol, but like food, things like that.
That'll do it.
Those are still, those can ironically consume you.
Right.
It's like I'm basing my actions, I'm basing my schedule, I'm planning events, I'm planning my day around like, oh, I'm going to eat then, I'm going to eat, and then I'll eat 2 hours later and eat and it's, so if you're doing that for something like smoking,
right.
It's like, are you even really living your life?
You're not.
Or are you just like trying to get around life? Are you trying to manage your way through life, waiting for your next cigarette or waiting for your next cupcake?
It's your next escape because you're escaping from something. That drug is having an influence on you. It's affecting you. It's helping you tuck your conscience away. Something is bothering you.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking at the clock thinking, all right, 20 more minutes, I can go out and have a cigarette.
Right.
Or 20 more minutes, I can go upstairs and eat some salami. It's like, well, why don't you just do what you're supposed to do right now? And then in 20 minutes from now, do what you need to do then.
Right.
Instead, you're obsessing over your next move.
That's, what you said before. That's the dirty little secret that everybody has and nobody really talks about. Everyone gets those thoughts. Those thoughts are constantly, they're thoughts. The thoughts come from.
Oh, you mean like the plain one?
Yeah, the plain one, for example.
Yeah. You don't mean a salami sandwich?
No.
Okay.
No, like right now, I'm thinking of a chocolate eclair.
Okay.
And I want to end the podcast right now. No.
Okay.
But that could happen.
I guess.
Not that I would end the podcast, but that could happen. Now I'm thinking about a chocolate eclair. I have dealt with people who wanted to take the way out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Who wanted to, take the way out of living. And some of them actually tried. Others, it was just an ideation.
Yeah.
Some had a plan.
Right.
Some actually tried. Well, the thing that you realize when you're dealing with a lot of people, especially people who are abusing substances, is that everybody has those thoughts.
At some point.
At some point.
Yeah.
Everybody gets them. Everyone.
Right.
But nobody talks about it. And because they say, well, it's just my imagination. It's just, it's not, and which that's what it is.
Right. So it's like, who has the power? I shouldn't even say the power, but who is able to recognize that as a thought that it's not you and therefore not something you should do.
Not everybody.
And let it go and it's gone. And who gets gripped by that?
Some people get gripped by it.
And who can't shake it.
Right.
And who all of a sudden is like, that's them. That's what they're going to do.
Depends on how closely tied they are to that thing that feeds them those ideas.
Right.
And what people mostly do is they just tuck it away. They just tuck it away, tuck it away. They don't think about it. I don't think about that.
Yeah.
It's like the little kid, in the playground who picks up a rock and puts it down. Another one picks it up and smashes the next kid in the head with a rock. Well, what made him do that? He just felt like doing it. Well, he's got a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Is that it for today?
I think so. I need a chocolate eclair.
You're not getting one.
No, I don't have one.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Goodbye.
All right. Yes.